with that in the music? You said you were emerging from a quiet period, dealing with the death, and then you had this burst of energy with these two recordings. In addition to talking about your own limitations of what life is like, which a lot of people hit in their mid 30s, were you also trying to sync that with the idea that some people close to you weren't going to make it? I mean, that had died?
Yeah, I mean, I had dealt with the topic over the years, and I've experienced it quite a bit over the years, but never on such a profound and consistent level as I did in 2017, 18. So yeah, it just kind of puts things into perspective, and it pushed me to question what I really wanted out of this life, and what I wanted to say. And so I decided to make this trilogy. So what you're listening to the first two parts of the trilogy. There's one more to come, actually.
When is that coming?
Well, we were talking about November of this year, but now I might have to push it back even
And why?
further.
Because of the COVID?
Yeah, also it's just a terrible time to release music right now because of all this happening. We All my shows have been canceled. Um, some of them have been postponed to later dates, but it's all up in the air right now. So
Chesky, I have to
I,
say that I think it's fantastic music. Like I'm in
thank
my,
you.
I'm about to turn 60, but I relate to it so much. Everything from, I find it exciting
Right now
because of the
because of all
way
this happening,
you have very
all my
contemporary
shows have been
sounds, whether it's the
canceled.
rap or what you do with video, and a lot of retro mixed in. And maybe correct me if I'm wrong about that, because on my favorite song, which we at the Independent considered the song in the video of 2019, which was Middle Earth. I feel like I hear Pink
Thank
Floyd
you.
all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Am I wrong about that? Some of the
I,
instrumentation
I
tying together.
definitely had my Floyd years. I was a big psychedelic rock collector, and I
Hmm.
actually came to that because of hip hop. Believe it or not,
No, it makes
because
sense.
yeah, because a lot of producers in hip hop we sample psychedelic rock, or we did for many years. So I would collect a lot of these records, and I got deeply into prog and psych and the whole Canterbury scene, which Pink Floyd came out of. So
Hmm.
yeah, I got into bands like Caravan and the Soft Machine and Camel, and Pink Floyd was kind of part of that. So yeah, if you hear that, it's not that surprising to me. I'm a big Sid Barrett fan too.
I just felt like it came out of nowhere and yet it fits so seamlessly. And we're talking to Chesky, one of New Haven's great local and national touring musicians, recording artists, performers, holed up in LA when he expected to be back in New Haven because COVID-19 interrupted his plans, like so many other people's plans, to make a move. He's had two albums in the last year. He has a trilogy of them, so a third one is coming out, we hope soon. And you'll listen to that on Dateline New Haven on WNHHFM, your home for community radio 103.5, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. Chesky, do you feel comfortable talking about the untimely deaths that were part of that reassessment period for you? Were they friends who had diseases or something that happened that caught you by surprise rather than natural order of how life flows?
Yeah, no, they were all young, all under 40 years old. Everything from, I mean, these are some of my closest friends in the world. So that's why it really caught me off guard. One of my friends, John Nagel, he he had complications basically from alcohol abuse, and his
Mm-hmm.
system shut down, and he passed away at 37, or 36 actually. My friend Scotty Sixo, was in a he was a professional motocross racer,
Mm-hmm.
and um, he passed away during a race, because of heat stroke, um,
Wow.
overheating, and he was actually winning the race, and he fell off his bike, got back on, and then because of the heat, he was disoriented and went off course, and nobody could find him. He went so far off course that he ended up in the woods and passed away there.
Oh my God.
My friend Niles Christopher, who was a electronic producer and good friend of mine, he hanged himself, and this is all within months.
When was this? And I'm so sorry you went through that.
Yeah, it was a rough year. 2018.
Now, so just to get back to the music, because you know it's interesting when you produce music that people love and listen to over and over. It's almost like they claim some ownership to it, or it exists separate from you. You kind of put it out in the world. I mean, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, how does a person emerge from that experience of having three people close to him die untimely age? One
I
of
mean,
them,
that's I just told you a few stories. Honestly, it was constant that year. Yeah.
wow. So, how did you come out on the other side? What did you decide after a mourning period, a quiet period? You out with this burst of energy. I felt like what I was hearing was a combination of wrestling with that, because you do make reference to your friends in the songs, and also something that's just so normal in life when you reach approaching middle age, when you realize some of your childhood dreams aren't going to come out the way you thought, but that there's still a lot of meaning in life and the way it turns out when you adjust. So not only did you have to adjust to untimely deaths that didn't seem fair or right, but also to, like, you make great music and people love it, and you produce music as a record label owner, you tour, you record, and even though you're not going to be, thank God, Kurt Cobain, right, you are going to be able to do this for a living, it looks like, right? So was part of it adjusting what it meant to be a successful musician, and whether
Yeah.
there's still reason to do your art if it couldn't have turned out the way you had originally planned?
I think right now is a good time to talk about this because right now, going through this COVID pandemic, uh, we, we're putting things into perspective. We're seeing how petty and trite a lot of our issues can be that we dwell upon.
Mm-hmm.
And once I encountered so much death so quickly through such a quick period of time, it just it made me realize how insignificant my other problems were and how lucky I was, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel extremely lucky and grateful right now just to have the privilege of sitting here in a comfortable place, being healthy and having everything I need and being alive, you know? So I
Right.
think I got that burst of energy from
There's
just
still,
seeing so many lives lost so young. I was just like, I just need to get my art out into this world, and yeah, you know, goals that you these dreams that you come up with at a really young age, when they don't necessarily happen the way you want them to, it's I don't know, it's kind of disappointing. But the truth is that I've never really wanted some like rock stardom type goals. My goals have always been for to be a working musician, and it's really odd um, when you actually achieve that at a pretty young age. So I've been doing it for so long that
and you
I
make a
didn't.
living at it, right? With the combination
Yeah.
of the touring, the recording. I mean, you
Hmm.
work hard. I just noticed
Yeah.
online how you're in different cities all over the place doing radio shows, doing concerts, doing recordings, but you're able to make a living, which is cool.
Yeah. Definitely. Right now is the hardest time ever for people like myself because all the work that we're losing. It's I know everybody's in the same boat though. So
Emerging from a
Yeah.
quiet
we
period,
were
dealing
thinking
with
at
the
the
death, and then could do it. One idea we had was to do a weekly Zoom concert with a local musician, where in advance you could buy $20 tickets to
Okay.
watch it, the first version live there. So then a person could pick up $1,000 from a night, and then we could portray it. So that's one idea we're throwing around. So if
That's
you're
a cool
interested in
idea.
that, let us know on the follow up. But do
Yeah,
you want to play?
I was talking to State House. They
Uh-huh.
have a whole streaming system, and we had a show postponed to April 24th, and I've been thinking even if we don't do the show April 24th, we could at least do a streaming thing properly with with their system, which is cool.
Mhm. Excellent. Chesky, would you like to play any music? Do you have a guitar around, or people
Yeah,
awake enough in
yeah, I
your
got a guitar. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, people are still waking up here, but
maybe you'll help them with that. This is Chesky. You listen
yeah.
to him on Dateline New Haven, 103.5 M, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. What you got? What you got for us this morning,
I'm gonna
Chesky?
try the song "Daybreak." I haven't played it in a little while, but daybreak, break all my bones. I wait for them to grow. I will crawl my way out from this hole. The act of patience can be painfully slow. By daybreak, you'll be on your own. I had to let you go, 'cause it ain't right to keep you floating in limbo. As my life leads me on to uncertain roads. There's an oil painting of a martyr with his head served upon a plate for kings to laugh at. There's another painting of a 30-something saint shot by arrows for his faith in one man. By daybreak, I will have grown old. Just hope to God you know that I still loved you even when it didn't show. And I will love you after everything he wrote.
All right. That was terrific, Chesky. Chesky on Dateline New Haven, WNHHFM, playing us Daybreak. I think you have that as a video without a video shot, right? Just the image of the album, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, there's actually a video with that one. It's
Oh,
a
there
pretty
is.
weird
I'm
one.
sorry.
It's
And was that on
based on
Sans Soleil, or what album was that?
that was on Sad Fat Luck. Yeah,
Oh,
and
Steph,
that's
I like. And would you
yeah,
say that fits into what you were talking earlier about emerging from a dark place, seeing a daybreak, and seeing a reason to love and to live and to continue to press on?
yeah. There's a darkness to that song, but it's definitely created out of love and optimism in the end. And
Yeah, I love it. And it's interesting to me too, because you draw from so many influences that here you are on radio playing acoustic guitar, finger picking song. I think you're in C. I couldn't tell because it's a little dark, but
yeah.
C, right? Yeah. And but then you're also you're doing rap. You're doing some of your produced
hmm
music has a very heavy kind of rock, and as you said, psychedelic rock interludes, and so you draw from all over. And it's just a real honor to have you here. Now, you were born Julio Ramos, correct?
Yes.
That's your legal name. How did you come up with Chesky? What does that mean?
So my father's name is Julio. He's from Puerto Rico. So my mother, my mother's Italian from New Haven, um, and my middle name is it's legally Francisco, but it's really I was named after my grandfather Francesco. So my middle name is Francesco, and so my mother, since I was born, called me Ceschi. That's short for
Oh,
Francesco.
all
So
right.
that's
And
where it came from.
I forget which song it is. On one of them, you talk about, I think, being in school when
hmm
you were picked on for being Puerto Rican, correct? Was
Yeah,
there was now in New Haven? Obviously we have the largest Italian American community from Amalfi, outside of Amalfi, more
yeah.
Amalfitanos than there are people in Amalfi. how did that dual identity work? Did you feel in New Haven like you were more Puerto Rican, more Italian American? Did it
Oh,
matter?
that's a great question. People don't really ask me that very much. Yeah, I think I would switch codes a lot. You know, it was I felt very much. It's funny because I grew up in places without many Italians or Puerto Ricans.
Hmm.
So before then, I'd be in California. Everybody just assumed I was Mexican because I could speak Spanish, or
Right, you
you
talked
know,
about that. Yeah.
yeah. So I was always done into other cultures that I love, and I'm very close with Mexican culture as well, but because of where I grew up. But uh, being in New Haven, yeah, it was like this real taste of my parents' cultures, you know. So I speak Spanish and Italian, so for me
Hmm.
it was really cool. I felt like I became closer to both sides, but there's always this thing where I've never quite felt like anything, even though I'm deeply raised by both of those cultures. I've never quite felt like I fit into either one of them,
Hmm.
and I've never quite felt like I fit into any genre. I've never quite felt like I fit into any scene. So
Hmm.
I think that's just part of growing up
Yeah.
multicultural like that, and that's
And I
sort
would
of
argue
goes in
that
my music. I
I would
would
argue
say.
that's one of the great things happening in music now is the melding of different cultures. I mean, it always happened, right? So blues came from Appalachia. I mean, it didn't come from Appalachia, but it was interwove with that, and classical then with the rock scene you were talking about in the '70s. And so I wonder if that's kind of parallels to your own life. When you code switched in New Haven, did you do it in response to negative pressures, or was it a positive thing that I could kind of speak Spanish, I could speak Italian, they both thrive here, and I'm
I just
digging it?
think it's natural because when you're going to a bodega or something and everybody's speaking Spanish, and you recognize that culture, because I spent quite a bit of time on the island as well. So when it's not like either of those cultures are foreign to me. My
Right.
grandmothers never spoke English well, you know, so I had to learn Italian and I had to learn Spanish just to speak to the women I loved, you know. Uh, and so it was totally natural code switching. I just say it because maybe if I'm at the bocce game or something, I'm gonna be playing. I mean,
The
thinking
annex
more about the
Wyman.
Italian culture. If I'm at Sunday dinner, it's gonna be one thing, and if I'm at La Paranda for like a Christmas paranda and at Porky's in Fairhaven, I'm gonna be, you know, talking a different way. Or
And
it,
you
it
said you
was a
came as a
natural
teenager
thing.
to New Haven, correct? Where did you go to
Yeah.
school?
So originally, the story that I'm talking about, originally we moved to the suburb of Guilford,
Oh
and
wow,
that's why it
Guilford.
was
Whoa, that must
yeah,
have been culture shock.
exactly. It was a major, major culture shock.
The Yankee Puritans. Yeah.
And it's funny because I spent most of those early years, we spent more time, I feel like, in Fairhaven,
Uh-huh.
and where my family's originally from, and East Shore, um, where my grandparents lived and my mother was born, and but we'd go back and forth. I was on the New Haven soccer team that played in the annex, and then I had this kind of alternate life in Guilford where I felt really, really out of place. I did end up meeting some cool people there, and mostly through metal and punk, you know.
Mhm.
but um, but yeah, it was major culture shock coming from Berkeley, California.
Yeah, I can imagine. Holy cow. And then, but you hung around town, and then you were part of the important part of the New Haven music scene. Did it shape you in any way? Did you have formative years when you started performing in New Haven? Were there specific genres? I mean, venues, excuse me, where you played a lot, like Cafe Nine or any place like that?
Yeah, no, my cousin. So my cousin's. He probably wouldn't want me to tell you this, but he's about 10 years older than me, and he from my mother's side, we're really close, and he's been playing in metal bands and punk bands his whole life as a drummer. My cousin Christian. And so when we first moved to New Haven, or to Connecticut, I should say, to Guilford, he started inviting us to these local underground shows at a place called the Tune In, if you remember that
Remember the
place.
Tune In on Center? Yep.
And so when I went to high school, the Tune In became like my hangout spot. We'd try to go every weekend almost. It was like
They had all ages, so you didn't even
no,
need a
it
free
was all
venue.
ages. No matter what the genre was, I'd be there. It could be a hardcore show, a ska show, the rare hip hop show, indie rock shows, whatever it was, I'd try to be there. And yeah, that got me more and more into the local New Haven scene. I became, you know, fairly nerdy about trying to collect music at that point, and especially, a lot of the stuff that was coming out of the tune-in. There was also a record label
Fernando
based
Pinto.
out of there, Fernando's record label, Elevator Music, I believe it was called, was coming out of there, and yeah, there was a lot of exciting. That was an exciting time, I think, for New Haven music. So that raised me, I would say.
Mhm.
And eventually, over time, those kind of DIY philosophies about music stuck with me, and I um, started my own label many years later. About
Right, that's 12 years old, right? You have the label Fake Four.
that's right. Yeah, we started in 2008, and at the time at Cafe Nine, Paul remembered me because he knew my first guitar teacher in Connecticut.
Who was that?
Uh, oh my God,
It's okay.
Brian. His name is Brian. What's his last name? I'm trying to think of his last name. I can't remember his last name. Um, really, really cool player, a good jazz player, really. But
So Cafe Nine, you got to play there, and you did recording and.
so Paul, when I originally reached out to him to try to book shows for these essentially super underground hip hop shows, he remembered me from when I was a kid from this one music store called Unlimited Music in Brantford,
Uh-huh.
and where Brian taught me, and and
Emerging from a quiet period,
he gave
dealing
us a
with
shot.
death.
He said, "Oh yeah, you could try to put on a show." And after the Sunday matinee, I remember, and eventually people just started showing up more and more. We had already kind of built a scene in California and Hawaii, of all places,
Why? Yeah.
and it was all because of tape trading and MP3 trading and the whole um, Napster phenomenon that was happening. We
How
kind
important
of
are live
really,
shows to building support for selling music?
they're incredibly important for me personally. I don't know if they're important for every kind of artist, but
Mhm.
for me, it's a big part of what I do. Of tape trading and MP3 trade, the most consistent income stream for me too, because there are so many markets in the world that I could hit. So for me, I could be like, okay, this season I could do Europe. This season I could do the West Coast. This season I could do the East Coast. This season I could do the Midwest. This season I could do Canada. Um, and each one of those places has a small following of people that want to come see me, and then they will usually buy my music as well, or buy my shirts or whatever. So that's my most consistent income. And so
It's one
that's
thing I
why.
love about what's happened to the music business in my lifetime. The long tail. So now you don't have to make a living, not to be a star, but to make a living. If you're good, people can find you lots of different places because of the net. And if
Totally.
you're someone who gets around and you just mentioned different parts of the country where groups want to come see you, that's enough people to sustain a living, it sounds like, as a touring and recording musician.
Definitely, yeah.
And
I think it's a grind, and it's far from the most comfortable job. I think a majority of people would not be comfortable having the kind of lifestyle I have when it comes to traveling as much as I do, and even just the discomfort of the ways I've had to live. You know, sleeping on floors or whatever I'm doing. I don't have to do that anymore. Really, I usually get a hotel at this point, or
that's cool.
have a comfortable places crash, and
I recommend to people
many years, you know, to get to that point.
Elm City Ballad, one of your videos shows a lot of the venues in New Haven.
Yeah, that's filmed in Cafe 9, actually.
And you have scenes around town, which I really like that one.
So I have a lot of love for Cafe 9. The reason we've been doing shows at State House, because I have a lot of love for Carlos at State House too, and those are all ages shows. So certain people who have never gotten to see us in New Haven are now finally able to see us because, well, since the space closed, State House holds more people than Cafe 9 as well. So that's been cool. But I'm still planning on doing shows at Cafe 9.
Well, Ceschi is here with us on Dateline New Haven. You want to place another number?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And you're listening to 103.5 M live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. New Haven, Ceschi.
Just say something. Say something meaningful, please. It's been 3 years of stagnation, court dates and fees. Wondering if I will go free. Nothing will satisfy me, even if I burn this whole planet down, it seems. Won't learn a thing, I'll die from risking. I've got friends who would rather end society, 'cause there's no way of fixing these flaws. And that's starting to make far more sense to me now, 'cause we're lazy and used to what's wrong. It's been embedded inside us since our first breaths. We're destroying the world where we live. But I'm sitting here watching a TV in bed, wondering why I lack happiness. Oh, disappointing mouth, say something more than another word about how your life's difficult now. La da da da, la da. Why I lack happiness? Oh, life is all monotony, sprinkled with some moments of unforeseen extremes. In between, more sleeping. How will the prison showers be? Will I have to punch somebody just to get clean? Will there be something for me to eat? All of us are just frightened roosters in a ring, ready to pounce and fight anything. Though none of us will ever know what freedom is, we have certainly felt lack of it. Proverbs and cliches remind me that I should learn to appreciate what I could get. But they're forcing us to live within our own ish, and I wasn't born to be a pig. Oh, disappointing mouth, hold your tongue so the cops don't come and beat the words from you singing tune now. La da da da, la da. La da da da, la da. La da da da, la da. La da da da, la da.
Ceschi on Dateline New Haven, WNHH FM 103.5, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. That's a great song. I don't think I've heard that before. What's it
Yeah,
called?
well, that's from the Broken Bone Ballads record that came out in 2015. Yeah, 2000.
What's the name of it?
It's called "Say Something."
Say, oh yeah, yeah, 'cause I think I've heard that one. And now, when you write the songs, do you generally write them on an acoustic guitar, even if you're going to end up having them heavily produced?
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah. Not always though. Sometimes I listen to the beat first if I'm doing a more electronic song, or
Did you write
sometimes I
that one on
write the
acoustic
lyrics.
guitar?
Yeah, that one's acoustic. Yeah, that one's acoustic, and I played a bunch of other instruments and had some friends play on there. My friend Alex Burnett actually from Laundry Day
Hmm.
plays banjo on that one. Adam Matlock from a bunch of New Haven bands plays accordion on that. So yeah.
And then, do you have a lot of voices doing the la 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 thing at the end? Or
I think I did the majority of the layers, but
yeah.
on that one, I think I
So when
just
I'm
did.
listening to you play that as solo, I'm thinking, okay, you get to the rhythmic part, and the traditional production would be then to have a lot of electronic instruments and the drums come in, and then
Mm,
obviously voices at the end. Do you sometimes hear it in your head that way, but want to play it counter to the
yeah, I mean, Middle Earth's a good example of that. It started just with me playing an ukulele on
ukulele?
yeah,
And that's why you got those great parts where you strip it down to ukulele in the
yeah,
record.
and it's just done right onto a phone. So I just recorded that onto a voice memo,
Wow.
and then we built it from there. Played
You
a
built
bunch.
it from there. Let's
My
talk about Middle Earth.
producer, yeah, my producer Factor did the drums, and I played like bass and did like bass harmonies and a bunch of vocal harmonies in the background. Yeah.
I mean, you take us so many places on that song, Middle Earth, musically, with the lyrics, to like in the song you just played too, which I assume was part of that driven from experience in prison yourself.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
But
was.
in a lot of your songs, I feel like you're saying no illusions, that if we're going to find a reason to keep living, we're not going to pretend that we're not emerging from a darker place of reality, correct? And
Yeah, most of them. Sometimes, I guess I'm sometimes a little more bleak than that, but I think there's always this light that I'm hoping for sure.
definitely the bleakest view on Elmo I've ever seen on one of your, one of your Elmo costumes. That's a great. But anyway, on Middle Earth, so that you wrote that on a mandolin.
Ukulele.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, ukulele, and but yeah, and then you do it with a great rapper, recording artist from Ithaca named Samus. Now, how did
Yeah,
that
she's
happen?
the best.
She is really good. The only reason I've gotten into her music was after seeing her in your video. How
That's
did you
great to hear. She's a great friend of mine.
team up on that?
Had I meet Samus?
Yeah, and then
Or
team up for that song Middle Earth. That's a great duet.
well, okay, so I met her in Ithaca doing shows through through some friends. This lady Helen originally brought me up there, and this guy Bubba, who runs something called Ithaca Underground, he put us together on a show. Um, Originally, this is years ago. This was probably at least it was about almost a decade ago. I feel like it was at least like it was at least 8 years ago at this point, and I was blown away by her solo material and her performance. She's one of the strongest hip hop performers I've ever seen, hands down. And we had a tour booked together. We were um, we were working on the song Middle Earth. Factor and I, my producer Factor Chandelier and I, he's based out of Canada. We were working on the song Middle Earth, and just knowing that Samus was going to be on tour with us, I was like, I really, really want her on this song. It makes sense. I think she does really well in this, in the six, in the 6/8 time signature. You know, I think she had that flow. I think one of my favorite songs by her is in that time signature.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, she'll kill this. She'll do a great job. And then we actually recorded her parts on the tour at our friend Tom's house in Portland, Oregon. So we were on tour, had a day off, and she recorded her parts, which is
Her part really comes in. It's a great pivot in that song. to hear her. Did she write those words, or did you write those words?
Oh, she did. Oh yeah,
That's what I thought. Cause talk about the expectations of being a firefighter, and a lot of music's about the expectations of someone like yourself who travels in different worlds and wondering the identity. In her case, it's the academic versus where does she really fit in? And
right, she's yeah. There's yeah. We I think we speak from spaces of the marginalized in a lot of ways, and we speak for and represent people who are marginalized in a lot of ways, not just culturally or with sexuality, even politically. I don't necessarily feel like there's any party that represents me. So I mean, I just think we all talk about these things. Samus is great about talking about it.
you're talking about where you fit in, right? If you don't quite fit in anywhere,
Yeah.
a lot of us can relate to. But Ceschi, how about that wild video? So then you do this, is a Coney Island thing where,
Coney Island, yeah.
and then you do this great thing with the making it look as though it was shot back in the 50s or 60s with the quality of the, you know, breaking up the video as though it's an old kind of home camera. And then
yeah, I gotta thank Jed Rosenberg for that. It's my homie. He is completely him. He's awesome.
It's a brilliant fit with the song. And then you guys bury yourselves in the sand. So you two went together to spend a day in Coney Island?
We did, and we woke up super early. My friend Mo Nichols, shout out Mo Nichols. He's my DJ and my roommate when I'm in New Haven, which will be more consistent soon. And Jose Oyola is was a New Haven based musician. He's been living in Brooklyn for a while. They buried us in the sand while Jed and his crew filmed, and yeah, it was a pretty magical shoot. Even a shark was came to shore during the shoot.
Wait a second.
It was crazy. Yeah, while
Samus, a real shark.
It was a real shark. Yeah, washed up on shore, and
what?
While Samus was being filmed.
Wait. Oh, no, live shark.
Yeah, little guy, but yeah.
Oh, a little shark. Nothing to be scared of.
If you watch it again, you'll actually see a tiny clip of it.
So is she looking at the shark while she's buried under?
No, her head's in front of it, so the water is behind her, and the shark gets washed up to shore.
So what'd you guys do?
Washed up onto the sand.
Did you throw
somebody threw him back to the shark.
Wow, that's one reason I would never be buried in the sand.
Yeah, and it was a rainy, really, really crappy day. Really, I think we were there at like 6 a.m, and it was raining, and I was miserable. I really was legitimately miserable, buried in sand with cold rain just pouring on my head. So if I look miserable, it's pretty.
Okay, and I hate to say this as someone like sitting comfortably in my room, but I think that helps that you were miserable.
Yeah.
You're crying out from your soul in a lot of the scenes, as is she, where you're talking about the pain you feel deep. And so anyway, I want to thank you, Ceschi, for being on Dateline New Haven today. I urge everyone to watch your videos, and we're going to take it out with that video, Ceschi.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone. Thank Harry Droz, our station manager, the man behind the controls. I know it was exciting for me to talk to
Harry,
who I've been watching so much, listening to over the previous weeks. So thanks for joining us in Dateline New Haven. We're going to take it out with Ceschi and Samus and Middle Earth.
Try that again.
Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the Middle Earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you. Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the Middle Earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you, to the dirt. Is honesty overrated? How many times have I said the same thing in new ways? Start to think it's the way that my life's gonna be, and I guess that's okay. wanted to be a grunge singer when I was a child. Grew up fast and wild. Now the crow's free to crawling all over my face every time that I smile. What you know about being decapitated, but your body still rolls around endlessly? Is there a way for me to face my infinite demons and maintain a sense of stability? Hustling for pennies like I was still 14. I ain't ready to grow up. Just wasn't made for these times. Realize I will never blow up, and that's fine. I'm not Cobain or Cornell or Lane. I'm just floating inside my own lane. Every word that I'm singing is plain. Just hoping that someone out there can relate. And there's times when I hate my brain, when I drive directly into trees. Think of 6 million ways to stop breathing, but my heart is pounding from the anxiety. Every year it gets sadder and fatter to the point that you realize none of it matters much. For the minutes we have on this planet, we're seeking love, and that's more than enough. Call it what you want, call it God, call it your freedom. That connection between living beings is a powerful thing, and that's real to us. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. And I know she don't love me like that, and I know she don't love me like that. Not the gay nor the lady, maybe neither of them gonna love me back. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. Slipping my way through the cracks, slipping my way through the cracks. And I know she don't love me like that, and I know she don't love me like that. Not the gay nor the lady, maybe neither of them gonna love me back. Nah.
Yeah, I am a middle child. It took me a little while to stop trying to get the approval of others. It's better than living life in denial. My worst fears to be middling. In my nightmares, I'm a kid again. And my teacher is asking my chosen career. I deceive her, cause that's what adults want to hear. They like doctors, firefighters, not a future that's odd like it's Tyler's. It's probably a sign I can't like with my teeth. I was missing my 2 front incisors. But now I stick my canine, and the sound rhymes like they steak knives. Anxiety tried me, I've died and revived, so I'm trying to hold on to my 8 lives. And I cannot pretend I could handle it if I ended up in middle management. Yeah, I have to be fucking with something I love if I'm burning both ends of my candlestick. And even then, I'm a little card, busy giving birth to a great tale. To my biggest fans, I am Joan of Arc, fucking Middle Earth in my chainmail. Yeah.
Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you. Slipping my way through the cracks, and I hope you don't overreact when my body collapses. I've been wandering, hoping to find my own place on this planet. I've been up in the middle of it, I've been up in the middle of it, in the middle earth. I've been nothing but real with you, I've been nothing but real with you, till the dirt.
Thanks again for joining us on Dateline New Haven at your home for community radio, 103.5 FM, live stream New Haven Info.org. I did notice the shark.
Good, good, good. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Thanks, Ceschi.
It was a good one. Stay safe out there.
You're taken out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Feel to Be Free. Group CD, A Plea for Peace. Live free with us all day and all night long here at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.